Welcome to another episode of Embracing Magic with me, Steph, and my beautiful co-hosts, Lizzie and Tony. How was your lunch?
Delicious.
Delightful.
Spicy.
Spicy. Flippin' heck.
Today, we're going to be talking about dispelling myths, common misconceptions within witchcraft and about witchcraft. So we're going to start off talking about our first one, which is that all witches are Wiccans.
Yes.
So...
Well, I'll jump in because for me, I'm still understanding the difference between Wiccan, witch and paganism. I'm literally reading a huge book at the moment, going all the way back to the beginning and talking about where witchcraft came from, when Wiccan came in, all sorts of things. So for me, I'm still quite confused about it, and I'm trying to understand, because I feel that I'm a witch, but I'm not Wiccan witch. I'm very much on board of that. Witchcraft to me is a spiritual practice, not a religion. That's how I'm understanding it. So far, there are people who are like, what are you talking about? But that's how for me, that's what I understand Wiccan and witchcraft at the moment. For me, that's what I'm differentiating between, because I feel, and also paganism, the other element of it that I was trying to read about is that that's the umbrella that incorporates all of it. Does that make sense? Is that a bit confusing? Yeah.
I don't think it's the umbrella term.
No, okay.
No, I mean, because witchcraft is from the beginning of time as well. I think that Wicca fits comfortably under paganism.
Yeah.
But everything else, it definitely... Wicca is a religion.
Yeah.
And witchcraft isn't. You know, Wiccans tend to worship deities.
But there's
which
a god.
falls under, god and goddess, or horn god and, goddess, which falls into worship and religion as well, which witchcraft doesn't.
Yeah.
Wiccans often, they do the rule of three as well.
Right.
Which witches don't. They tend to be more sort of light leaning as well. So they're more interested in the kind of intention-based stuff. They're more interested in they think that if you put bad magic in the world, bad will come back to you threefold or whatever. And witchcraft tends to not think that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as much as we were talking about kind of like dark magic and stuff like that, you know, witches don't consume themselves with thinking about how their spells are going to, you know, lead to these awful repercussions. Again, it feels like some kind of Christian manipulation.
Yes, that I know what you mean. You know, that's how I was reading.
You actually had an experience recently, didn't you, with
that's so
Wiccan?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bang on the money. I'm so glad you said that. So I work for a lovely holistic company. I love them very much.
Oh, I'm very excited to hear the story.
Yeah, this is the story.
It's going to get comfortable.
Yeah, get comfortable. Are you ready? Then I'll begin. And so a witch came into where I work. Lovely.
Witch or a Wiccan?
So, Wiccan.
Interesting.
And we had an interesting discussion.
Get out. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking.
We had a really interesting discussion because I was so excited to meet her because she said she was a Wiccan witch, is how she introduced herself. And I said, I'm a witch too. I said, I'm a new witch. And I'm part of a coven. And so she looked at me, said, oh, which coven? I said, Lunar and Wild coven. And I showed your cards. She said, oh, so you're not a real witch then? Silence. Tumbleweed. Yeah. And I didn't know what that meant. Okay. So I went, and then I said, oh, thank you. That'll be £5.99, please, because she was buying
So rude, though.
Actually, that'll be $12.99.
Price has gone up for you.
That's a tip.
So that was my first introduction because I hadn't really investigated the, Wiccan and the differences. So that was my introduction to it. I was like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. So that's when I began. I was like, okay, let's just go back. Let's just start investigating what this means.
Go back in history to when Wicca didn't exist, but witchcraft did.
Yeah, and it's a fairly new practice.
It's a fairly new practice.
It's very new, yeah. It's Gardener religion. Not to say that there aren't loads of valuable things in Wicca. There are loads, but
there are the bits that I've been reading about. I think, oh, well, that resonates and that resonates, but I would just call myself a witch of witchcraft. So it was interesting that she said, "But you're not a real witch."
What does she mean?
What does that mean?
Did you ask her?
No, I panicked.
You were just like, please leave.
I got a bit scared.
I feel offended. Please leave.
I wonder if she meant as in like she, you know, been properly initiated
That's
into
what
like
I
a
think.
traditional coven, you know, practicing for what's it, a year and a day.
Yes.
I wonder if that's what she.
Is it the ceremonial aspect she's thinking? She's
No.
no. I don't know what that. I don't know. What she meant.
Ceremonial magic is ancient.
It's ancient.
Wiccan isn't, you know. But I mean, there are things that we agree on. Like we like the season.
Yes.
Was that the whole story, or did I just?
That was it. So again, I said goodbye to her really politely.
And goodbye and good day to you.
Lovely to meet you.
It was so lovely to meet you. Now I'm scared. But that was my sort of introduction.
What a presumptious thing to say.
Yeah, I just felt like, oh,
Very rude.
Yeah, what a really unkind thing to say. Couldn't she have just asked you some more questions? So how does that work? You know, how does your coven work? Like what she just
Where are
literally
you on
shut
your
you
journey?
down.
Yeah,
like
totally.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
I really hate that.
And it was not my experience thus far on the journey of
No.
that,
Like my life.
of my life. But
Where I am the main character.
hello everybody, it is I, Lizzie. Lizzie. That wasn't my experience in the coven. That was all
No.
about inclusivity and embrace it all. This was suddenly like a door slamming.
Yeah, well, I guess it's not a traditional coven, but it was born out of a time when we weren't able to meet in person. Really, your ideas came in during the pandemic, right? Because you've been thinking a year before about doing it, and just you kept not doing it because of imposter syndrome, and then suddenly decided to do it.
Yeah.
But
Kind of like this podcast, really.
Yeah, which is a secret right now. No one in the world knows about it. Maybe it'll never come out.
I'd been thinking about doing it for a long time. And you're right. It came out of that time where, you know, people couldn't connect. And I just had this strong desire to connect with other witches all over the world. And I knew that there was definitely people out there that didn't have friends or people that they could connect with around witchcraft. Yeah. So it's really like sad to hear that, you know, someone
it isn't to be fair, it's not a traditional coven.
No,
Like,
it's not.
We don't meet up and have ceremonies.
Yeah.
We're working on the meeting up part. We've done some meeting up, and we will do more. But we definitely do rituals. We definitely do ceremonies. And, you know, we're a bunch of witches that have different interests, and we're learning together. So it is a coven, you know, but I think that there's a sort of like, again, like a disconnect, because some people are just like, it's not a real coven if you're not meeting up and you're not doing.
Right. Is that what she meant then?
Honestly, couldn't tell you.
Couldn't say.
Because you didn't ask.
I didn't ask. I got scared. Ran away from her.
You didn't want to. But, you know, for me, like I don't see it as a religion. It's a spiritual practice. And the whole idea of worshipping anything just takes it back into the religious realm, which is not for me. But, you know, we were talking about that as part of the Wiccan conversation is the sort of the pentacle versus pentagram thing.
Yes.
And how people don't understand the difference. Because Wiccans, it's the pentacle, which is the star with a circle around it, and the point starts at the top. Whereas a pentagram is actually upside down, without the circle. And the pentacle is all about the different elements.
Yeah.
Earth, wind, fire. Whatever, sorry, I'm saying in the wrong order, spirit, because I don't follow it. And, you know, the pentagram is, you know, it's like the complete opposite, you know, and it has been used in Satanism and stuff like that. So it gets really confusing. But, you know, you and I both do follow the Wheel of the Year, which is kind of Wiccan Guardian type thing. And it makes sense to me because I love, you know, following the Sabbats, and it's literally what I do, isn't it? But, you know, that for me is just being so closely bonded with nature and understanding how the birth, death cycle works, you know.
How we're all connected into that.
But I am so, because my personal practice is ancestral. It's all about knowledge that's been passed down, and it's about what actually happened in history and getting the proper facts and the real information.
Yeah,
that's not what Wicca's about. It's a new age religion.
Yeah,
with a lot of things that don't resonate with me at all.
Right. Yeah.
Including really white, sterile spaces with lots of very high, shiny gloss rose quartz.
Oh,
and big sort of like kimonos.
Oh,
I mean, I do like a kimono, but
big kimonos,
big old multicolored kimonos.
So going on to shiny light things, should we talk about that all witchcraft is love and light? How do we feel about this one, Tony?
Go on, Lizzie.
So hit the floor.
Go on then, Lizzie.
So again, for me, on a daily basis, actually, just in my work, I talk to a lot of different healers and love and light, and I find it's a really difficult one, because I find if you just concentrate on love and light, it's all positivity, love and light, love and light, love and love and light. There's a sort of disconnection to yourself completely.
There's no balance.
There's no balance. You're sort of you're trying to put all your positivity into it. And the truth of the matter is there is light and dark, but it's also in life, there is the sensation of awful and horrible and good and bad. It's like, it's necessary.
With light comes the darkness.
With light comes the darkness. And I think people who get really trapped in that love and light, they're kind of almost panicking.
Yeah.
Because they're not listening to themselves. They're not listening to the journey within, that actually the dark side.
Going to those dark areas.
Is really important. It's vital to listen, to go there. And I think that's why I'm so interested in shadow work, because the trauma that I'm going through now and listening to it and doing the shadow work is so important. I felt the best I've felt because I am going there. I'm challenging myself.
When you're working through it.
Working through it. And I do worry when someone is just in this fizzy love and light, just love and light, love and light, love and light. I sort of worry.
Like they're clinging on to it.
It's like a desperation. Like a complete desperation. You can say love and light, love and light, I wish you like peace, I wish you the best. But I think there is such a desperation to cling on to love and light.
Sometimes you have to be like, I wish you destruction.
I wish you destruction.
Death. The plague.
Wish you the plague. But it's not real. I think that's what, for me personally,
there's more to us as human beings in general than just a light.
Just love and light. And I think the more that you trap yourself in that, actually, I think you spiral more, if that makes any sense. If you get trapped in just love and light, it sends you into a spiral because you're not dealing with the realities of life.
Well, no, it's almost a place of privilege, really.
Yeah.
So anyone that's able to experience love and light all the time is experiencing some privilege, because there's a lot of darkness out there.
Massive.
But also for me personally, I think that you can only really experience and appreciate the light when you've been in the really dark places.
100%.
Because when I was going through a trauma, it was in the gutter that I started to realise what the light actually was. And the light isn't money and cars and houses and, yoga every morning at 6 a.m. with your ceremonial cacao. The light can be, that was bitchy, I'm sorry. But the light can be knowing what true friendship is.
100%.
Not just someone that you take pretty photos with, drinking cocktails in a fancy bar. Real friendship can be someone that hears you and shares advice or holds you and is willing to listen to you when you're in your darkest place, and also be there to celebrate your wins and not feel jealous or
Totally.
And I think that sometimes the actual positive light, the spiritually good part of life, are the really simple things, like knowing how to take care of your body, knowing how to listen to your body and
100%.
fill it with nutrients and good quality water, and knowing when you need to move your body, and knowing when your friends are noticing someone's absence because they're going through a bad time, and actually being there for them, and appreciating your parents while they're alive, if they're nice people, which they aren't always. Mine are great.
Mine are nice.
Yeah, I'm just
I
like,
love
not
my
throwing any shade on my parents.
My parents are nice.
But, you know, or just like appreciating a beautiful flower
Yeah.
or a tree or something like
Or
that.
just a beautiful day in general.
Or a beautiful cup of tea.
Yes.
Sponsored by, no joking. You know, I just think that actually, I don't think that I even really knew what light and love was until I didn't have it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
so
actually
true.
that sort of meandering through those darker places and working through that trauma. Because I mean, the sort of like the dark side of magic isn't all bad either.
No.
It really isn't. Like,
Nope.
you know, I feel very, very drawn towards death work. Like I said, working with spirits, working with the dead. And I think that the UK has a really strange relationship with death. Whereas when you go to other cultures,
Yes.
they like literally
Celebrate
venerate
it.
their ancestors, you
We
know.
look at Day of the Dead in Mexico.
Exactly.
It's like amazing.
But like even Tom and I, when we went on our honeymoon, we went to Hallstatt in Austria, sorry. And even the way that they take care of their graveyards, it's stunning. Like they really
beautiful.
love and remember and care for those that have passed away, and think about, you know, the way their place of rest, their eternal place of rest looks. We don't care about our
Don't
graveyards.
care. You should see graveyards now. It's
Yeah,
really
I mean,
quite.
it's different when you go to like the Magnificent Seven or whatever in London. But, you know, the graveyards everywhere else, because we've got a Victorian one in Hastings where I live. And it's just, you know, they're just falling apart. Like all these beautiful like stone masonries falling apart. Going a bit off subject here, but basically you need balance, which is what you said.
Yeah.
You absolutely need
Yeah,
balance.
and
Some
that's
people are
100%.
more leaning on one side, but you always need balance.
Yeah, and I think that's what witchcraft is about.
Yeah.
Balance.
And it is toxic to think that people should always be, you know, putting positivity out in the
Toxic
world.
positivity.
Because it's not honest.
Yes.
No.
It's not honest, and
It's
it
not
doesn't
honest.
allow you to be the whole of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's not.
And also, you feel like if you're just in this love and light, you're suppressing so much. You sort of feel like you're a ticking time bomb. Because
Yeah.
you're going love and light,
Yes.
and then you're just. And I think that's what a lot of people. It happens. They just implode,
Yeah.
and then as soon as they've imploded, then they stop and go, "Oh, hang on, I've got to go there."
So we touched on dark magic there, kind of.
Here we go.
Here we go. The next.
We're ready.
Just pumped.
The next misconception is that all magic and all witchcraft is Satan worshipping. That is the next one.
Yeah,
I haven't.
definitely not true.
Not true.
No.
I haven't worshipped Satan.
Well, you should try.
Well, I'm going to try it now. It's going to become my budget.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've personally had people questioning us. Oh, Lizzie and I.
Yeah.
No, people just accept it about me.
I think it's the whole like because you like metal and stuff. It kind of works hand in
He's
hand.
already got her.
That vibe.
She's a lost cause.
Yeah. Just stay away.
Yeah.
But I think people saw like the photos of the retreat.
Yes,
with
that's
our
when it all, yeah.
pentagram in the centre.
Photos.
Beautiful.
Pentacle.
Oh, I guess yeah, it was.
Well, I was
pentacle,
asked
wasn't it?
That was for balance reasons,
Yeah.
to be fair.
Yeah, it was.
And it was a seasonal thing as well, so it kind of
Yes.
made sense.
You're trying to justify the
I am,
pentacle.
because I really have an aversion to it, but I did actually also have to draw it with the salt, so it's kind of my fault.
True. It's all your fault.
You should have seen me with a credit card, like lining the salt up. I was like, oh, this reminds me of a past life.
Chameleon.
You have to edit that bit out.
Edit
So
that.
yeah, the photos came out, and I think people were like, "Oh wow,
Yeah.
what is going on there?" And if you haven't seen the photos,
Devil
people, we were all sat around in a circle. We had our pentacle in the middle with candles and crystals, that sort of
Beautiful.
vibe. And to us, that felt really sacred and like a
It was
special
like an offering, wasn't it, to the
offering
season?
to the season, yeah.
And something to also congregate around.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
You know, it was the centre of our circle.
Yeah.
So it was quite like a meditative thing to have in the space.
Yeah. But yeah, so we had some comments from people being like, okay, what's going on there?
I asked, the question I was asked was, do you know what you're getting yourself into? And I went, do you know what you're talking about?
Not entirely, actually. I'm still learning.
The truth of the matter is, I think I'm a solar witch. So Solar witch. But I thought that was a really interesting question. Do you know what you're getting yourself into? And I thought, do you know what you're doing?
No, I mean, do you know what I'm getting myself into? Please tell me, because I'm unaware.
But in reality, that day we spent meditating. We spent doing ancestral work, making an offering to one of our ancestors that we had chosen.
Sound healing.
We did a burning ritual outside, which was simply writing something down on a piece of paper that we wanted to let go of, and burning it in the fire together, and just being together as a coven.
Yeah.
We're
just bonding face to face as well.
Face to face, yeah. And holding each other. You know,
literally.
Yeah.
We literally held each other.
Now you all want to join,
sometimes
right?
while crying.
Yeah, there was quite a few tears.
Like happy tears as well.
Happy tears, there was some, it's very emotional.
Some sad tears and some happy tears and lots of laughter and, you know, some great meditation, some really delicious food.
Yeah.
Very like sensory space as well, wasn't it? It was and there was some like stormy stuff going on outside while we were in this nice little dark hub, and while we were doing the sound healing. Amazing.
It
was spine tingling. It was just beautiful.
But back to all magic is Satan worshipping. So what do we think about this?
It's definitely not all magic. I think you have to accept that witchcraft is different for everyone. And, you know, there is a long history, or a very well recorded history of like ritual magic, you know, people being ritually killed, animals being ritually killed. There's a lot of blood stuff going on, blood and otherly fluid stuff going on. And that stuff is still really important today, and it's absolutely not for everyone, and it's a very taboo subject, and it's not something that we discuss in the coven. It's something that I feel more comfortable talking about personally. Not that I would ever sacrifice anyone or any beautiful animal.
The potato witch in the corner.
I love potatoes. But, you know, for instance, when it comes to blood magic, I wouldn't feel uncomfortable using my own blood. But, you know, there are great substitutes for that, like hair. Like we use breath quite a lot, or sound. But I think for some people, especially women that are sort of like reclaiming their power and stuff like that, you know, with their feminism, there is a really interesting connection between Satanism and feminism, like satanic feminism, basically, because Satan does represent the opposite of Christianity, the opposite of patriarchal religion.
Right.
And for me, that's like invigorating.
Yeah, you're like,
down with the patriarchy, stamp on the Bible. Sorry, we might have to edit that out as well.
I'm just coughing to death.
You know, because of the way that women were persecuted through the sort of like witch hunt, and the way that patriarchal religion was created to remove women in positions of power, like herbal healers and tribe leaders and stuff like that, midwives. You know, we were systemically removed from any position of power, from having any opinions, from being able to have a vote, or, you know, being able to educate ourselves or share our education. We had to hide things. And then they made us turn on each other, you know.
Dob each other in.
It's actually making me feel like a little bit physically sick talking about it. And we're still dealing with this issue today. And, you know, we're dealing with it in our medical system. We're dealing with it in education around the world. You know, women are still persecuted today.
That's another one of the myths, is that, what was it? Let me just read it quickly.
That persecution has basically ended. The witches are no longer oppressed, which is not true, because even when we're talking about like the conversations that we're having with friends and family, and they're saying, do you know what you're getting yourself into? They're already like, there are big judgments even in Western culture. But over in India or in African countries, people are still getting murdered. They're getting burnt alive. And it's still an issue that is not had a light shone on it. 9 million people were murdered because of witchcraft, for being witches.
It's just
And people are still being murdered today, and it is a literal genocide, and it's a conversation that no one is talking about. You know, so that's a massive myth-busting thing.
Yes,
that should be when we're talking about coming into a new spiritual practice like witchcraft, we should be educating ourselves on this subject
100%.
because people are still getting killed for it. And, you know, for all of us who are able to embrace it without oppression and persecution and stuff like that, you know, it's a privilege.
Yeah,
it's a privilege to be able to openly tell people that I'm a witch and not be killed or hurt or, you know, verbally abused.
Definitely.
And that should be the first lesson when you decide to be a witch.
Completely, so powerful to say it, Tony, because I completely agree. I just can't, and I'll be honest, I didn't realise that it was still, I didn't realise it was still going on.
But you did educate yourself, and you signed that petition that went around recently to pardon
that was my first. That was my first experience into like signing a petition and being an active witch and going, I'm going to sign this, yes, and again feeling that like visceral anger of like, how dare, like.
Didn't you feel empowered signing it, though?
Empowered, like, yes.
But also, my family who aren't witches or don't, you know, they don't identify as a witch, they all signed it too. And it was really moving. And I was like, I feel so seen and so valued by having loved ones sign it, because they understood what had happened. Well, not just them, but they understood that it was wrong.
Yes.
You know, and that the justice needed to be done.
Needed to be served.
Thank you. Justice needed serving. Thank you.
No, but you're right. It was empowering. And I went away and I really read, because it was a long petition, and went away and read it. And then that's when, and then I think you and I were talking about that it was still going on in parts of India. And you just can't believe.
And Africa.
That's
pretty bad.
That's the other thing. Africa,
Yeah, it's just harrowing.
It's a place that, because I'd love to go to Africa, but I am scared to go because I am so publicly known now as being a witch. Like all of my social media, I'm very like openly practicing witchcraft, and I just worry about going over there and getting flagged in some way. I don't know why anyone would flag me. I'm not important at all, but it's like, if by some chance, you know, I met someone and I gave them my name and they looked me up on Instagram, like, I'd be terrified.
Yeah,
you know, and you know, it's something that we don't have to worry about when we live in like a Western country.
No, like you say, utter privilege.
I mean, we do get crappy comments and stuff like that, and you know, you might have some disagreements with people, but you're not, you know, gonna get beaten up or killed.
No.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What else is on that list over there?
Let me have a look.
Throw us another myth.
Throw us another question, please.
Brooms and pointy hats.
Oh, well, I've got that for sure. Look what I'm wearing. No.
Mine's flat.
In the room?
I've got a little...
besom.
You've got a besom.
I've got a besom. Little besom. But I do get the question all the time. People go, how did you arrive? And I'm like, yes, on me broom. Ha ha. They're like, yes, I've got a warty nose and a pointy hat.
Where can I park?
Yeah.
In the broom closet.
But yeah, I've got my besom. I call it besom. Is that right?
Besom.
Or was it besom? I've got my besom, which I love. And but yeah, it is funny. Like when I first started telling friends that I was a witch, that it was like there was like a night where just everyone just took the piss out of me for like a whole evening, and I laughed about it.
Mean.
And that's very mean.
That's very mean.
But I was laughing about it. But then I thought, it's so interesting that the caricature of a witch is that like the whole pointy hat and broom, and like it's a joke. Like there's this element of like, ha ha, we're going to mock you for it.
And probably a slight reclaiming as well.
Yeah,
You know, but because people have been mocked about the pointy hat and the broom, like I think a lot of witches that are kind of more confident with being out there have basically been like, yeah, I love that, like, I'm a good witch woman on Instagram. I love her, especially when she's smoking a massive joint. You can trust me. I'm a good witch. She's got this amazing smile. I adore her. I'm going to be her one day. That's what my life aspiration is. Yes. But that visual idea of a witch was completely designed by men. So there is no historical reference in witchcraft of people using brooms or pointy hats or what's the other one? Wands. You know, I'm very anti Harry Potter as well, mostly because of that awful writer. Awful.
Oh, yeah.
To hell with you, you awful woman. I can say that because she's a vile person.
Yeah.
But people seem to just ignore that she's a vile person because she wrote Harry Potter.
The Pottage.
I've not watched it.
None of them?
No.
None of the Pottage?
No. I kind of just missed it and then I didn't want to.
And then you don't want to go down that route.
But yeah, so anyway, wands, like no historical relevance at all, as well as brooms or pointy hats. Like I think pointy hats, it has some history to it, but it's not about witches actually wearing them in practice. So I don't have any of them. I like the idea of making a broom, and I like the idea of like kind of sweeping energy out of the house.
Yeah, totally.
But the idea that witches flew on broomsticks was completely designed by men in the Malleus Maleficarum. I hope I'm saying that right.
That's that juicy book. That awful book.
Juicy book. I think that's the wrong word.
Dreadful book.
She didn't mean that.
I didn't mean juicy.
Bad.
I meant big. Is it a big book?
It's not really even big. He was quite lazy, to be honest. It's basically a zine. It's a magazine. It's a magazine. So it was the book that basically started the witch hunts. So the idea that witches sort of like rode on brooms and stole men's penises, that is in the Maleficarum.
Wow.
Stole them.
Literally, we stole their erection. It must be the witches that they can't get it up.
Blimey.
Yeah, it's quite funny, really. It's like you have to blame someone, don't you? Blame the old women.
Witches. Oh my God.
A lot of people have asked you actually, why have you got that book? Haven't they? And
yeah, so I mean, I did have some controversial feelings about buying it. I bought it secondhand, but I bought it to educate myself on what actually was happening, you know, with the church, with the king and the German guy, you know, all went a bit mental and decided to just completely oppress women with this absolutely ludicrous idea.
But it wasn't only women that got killed, was it?
Men, women and children.
So that's another myth, is that all witches are women.
Yeah, they're absolutely not. I know lots of male witches.
So do I, yeah.
And little witches. Literal little baby witches.
Little baby witches.
Because we had the witchcraft market, didn't we? And we had little kids there like buying crystals and everything. It's adorable. I love it. I love a baby witch. Yeah, no, it's definitely all genders.
All genders
welcome.
All genders welcome.
I think that there are a lot of women in witchcraft, and I think a lot of that has to do with the need for women gatherings.
Yeah,
definitely to have that sisterhood, you know, and that
need
kind
for
of
safe spaces.
Safe spaces, especially safe spaces because of male trauma or trauma caused by men. You know, there's a lot of women a lot of violence against women from men.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Male. Sure. I can't. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I think because of things like abuse and violence, like women have to have spaces to gather and talk and hold each other and, you know, help each other heal.
Yeah. Absolutely. I totally agree.
I agree.
Totally agree. Let's have a look at the next one.
Next one.
Do you know what? Oh, Lammas.
I guess
Lunarsad.
that kind of fits well in with the kind of the religion aspect, doesn't it? Because oh my God, the misinformation on social media drives me bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. You know, the amount of witches that go around saying Merry Lammas. They don't say that, but it's like Blessed Lammas or Lammas blessings. And I'm just like, that is a Christian co-opted name for Lunarsad. You know, you are using the religion that literally stamped out witchcraft and paganism, and you're celebrating it. And I know it's not everyone's fault. Like, it's not anyone's fault. You know, there's a lack of...
But it's education again, isn't it? Because you informed me. You said... Did
I inform you or did I shout at you?
She shouted at me, ladies and gentlemen. No, but you explained it to me because I think I put both up. I think I did... Well, which one is it? And I think I went like, Mary Lammas #/Lunarsad. And you were like, no, Pussycat. No.
That's another thing that is dddone, isn't it? It's Lammas/.
Yeah,
that's
Lammas/.
A lot of people write it.
Yes, the eye roll.
I didn't even know that I did that. Wow. I didn't even know that I could do that.
Powerful.
Yeah.
And there's again, it's education, because I didn't.
Just don't bloody go around copying what everyone else on the internet
Exactly.
does. And please do the research.
Yeah.
You know, just look it up and be like, and work out what fits with for you and what doesn't. Maybe there are Christian witches out there.
Yeah,
It's absolutely perfectly acceptable for them to use Lammas.
Yeah.
It's weird for me when someone says, I'm a witch, I'm a practicing witch, and then they use the term Lammas because, you know, in fact, it happened locally for me. I'm in part of like a pagan group in Hastings where they were like, oh, let's bring the Lammas festival back. And I was like, could we change the name? Nobody replied, by the way. They're like,
Really?
No one replied.
they were like, she's fucking going off again. You know, and I was like, can we not, you know, because it's a Christian name. Like, but that's what they do. They steal our religion. They take our Christmas trees. They take our Yule trees and bring them inside, and then they die and get sad and they call them Christmas trees. You know, that's a really funny like Instagram reel about like Jesus coming in and stealing the pagan party.
Oh, have you seen it? Yeah.
It's so funny. It's so good. But it's literally what happened. They just stole loads of pagan traditions, loads of witchcraft practices, and then just
And saints.
these
as
are really
well.
good. Yeah,
Well, they were basically trying to onboard people to being Christian, weren't they? And the easiest way to do that was to change the pagan festivals slightly to suit
them.
and because they looked so fucking cool as well. They were like, that looks really good. Let's take that as well.
Yeah.
We'll have that tree and we shall
change
call
it.
it a Christmas tree, a Christmas tree.
Christ mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I forgot what we were talking about.
I'm not sure.
Where did we get here?
Where are we going?
The only other thing that I thought of that came to mind was people assuming that you're summoning demons.
Some people are.
Some people are, yeah.
So people think that you're summoning
Demons
as
part of witchcraft, which
Are we going back to another point?
clearly. I think
Are we going back to the dark
We've
magic?
exhausted all the points, but that one just came up in my brain.
in your brain.
I was like,
I suppose, is it like related? So like with like Bridget, like she's my deity that I really connect to, and I summon a lot of her energy. I feel like I connect to her, and I summon so weird. Connect to her energy, and is that, I think some people then, if I explain that to people, they might not understand quite what that means. When I'm saying I'm summoning this energy, or I'm connecting to this
Quite
energy.
Wiccan, you know, having a deity.
Right, that's interesting.
Yeah. Although, I mean, we've talked about deities, haven't we? And that's probably a more expansive subject. But, you know, I see deities as being like representing the different faces of nature. So for me, it isn't weird that you would like Bridget or however you like to pronounce it, represents that stirring of spring.
Yes.
And the kind of rebirth of like life. And so it doesn't have to be an actual goddess. that you're worshipping, or you're in a very sort of like religious way. You're kind of just drawing on that energy of that type of nature. Mm-hmm. It's like some parts of nature represent fertility.
Yes.
So therefore you might sort of like want to, you know, draw that energy from a deity that kind of represents that energy.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah. I've again forgotten where we're trying to get here.
we were talking about
Demons.
like demons.
I feel like you just really want to talk about demons and Satanism today.
Well, for me personally, in my practice, I don't summon demons.
It's because you're scared of them, though. You can't even watch a horror film.
That's true, actually. I'm a massive wimp. I don't like horror films. And if I do watch a horror film, I will often have loads of dreams about it. So, but yeah, for me, in my personal practice, I don't summon. I mean, do you?
That's a very personal question. No, I don't.
No.
Like, I don't really believe in
But
demons.
I think a lot of people hear the term witchcraft and then just automatically associate all of these different things to being, because it's such a broad subject, I know, and everyone is different, everyone practices differently. But I think that the myth here is that most people think that when you practice witchcraft, you're worshipping Satan, you're summoning demons, you know, you're doing all of those things. But actually,
I mean,
a
some
lot
people
of people
are.
Yes,
But
some
I
people are.
would say the majority probably aren't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But again,
That's the point.
Just to give a different spin on it, much like I think that deities represent parts of nature, demons are the same. You know, they might represent like the sort of like the destruction and the chaos and the and you know, like the plagues and you know the
and trauma and things
trauma,
like that.
yeah. So if you take away the word, because I think words can be quite triggering.
Yeah.
So if you take away the word deity and demon and we just talk about energy, we know that there is good energy and there is bad energy, and we experience the whole spectrum, don't we? So I think that sometimes it is just about finding words that people can connect with.
Yeah.
So true. It feels like the mic drop, boom.
I'm out of here.
Yeah, she's out.
See you later, bitches.
No, that is a very interesting way of looking at it, actually.
I'm a very interesting person.
And like not putting fear to those words. I
Well,
suppose,
because this is how Christianity was born, right?
out of fear.
You know, it was about manipulation and control, and you know, obviously we've talked about the positive sides of it, like the community and the spiritual enlightenment and stuff like that. But really, it was about putting the people on top and keeping them on top by making everyone else afraid, keeping them in a container, not letting them get above their station and getting any big thoughts about, you know, getting any higher up or whatever. And I think it's the same when you talk about stuff like witchcraft. You talk about anything that's kind of maybe considered slightly taboo or, you know, outside of the norm. I think people get really villainized over things. It's like it's kind of similar to the whole gentle parenting thing. Do you follow any of that about people that are trying to like? They're trying to parent in a way that is like kind and compassionate and not the norm. Like when we were little, we might have got a smack when we were being naughty, or you know, you get humiliated by being put in the corner of a classroom and having to face everyone, or you know, detention. It was all about punishment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas now there's this big movement of gentle parenting, which is about really listening to your children when they are
in distress or
just having a complete tantrum, and you're like, tell me about the feelings that you're feeling, you know, and people that the slightly older generation, or maybe slightly more normie leading, don't understand it because it's outside of their experience, and it's alien to them. It's radical, it's progressive, like veganism is, like it's seen as like progressive and mad and radical and ludicrous. And actually, like, people just need to learn to be a bit more compassionate and understanding, and actually have these conversations that we're having now, where we're talking about things, and we're changing the words to help people understand like what they might represent to them.
Yes, absolutely.
Because there's such connotation, isn't it, when you hear demon, deity? Like there's such connotation connected
like
to it.
You know, like again, like the light and positive, you know, the toxic light and positivity. There's the goddess movement, isn't there?
Yes.
The, you know, the sacred goddess movement, and how exclusionary that is to trans people.
Right.
You know, and I think that people need to think about their word choices more.
Yes. I think breaking it down like that kind of hopefully helps people to understand.
Does it make you feel any differently about demons? If they're considered just bad energy?
Yeah, it
or
does.
just a version of energy?
Yeah, absolutely does. Yeah.
Less scared?
I'm less scared.
No, it does make me think differently about it. Definitely. Yeah.
So I was having a conversation with someone in the coven the other day that was talking about deities as being archetypes, almost like archetypes of personality traits, like within yourself. So you're almost having like this inner conflict of like, you know, all of the good thoughts that you have, and all those kind of like intrusive thoughts that are like quite dark and you can't tell people because and how they're like there's this battle going on inside of you, and actually demonology is more about kind of like controlling the balance. It's a really interesting conversation, and I might have got completely the wrong end of the stick because she's very intelligent and I'm actually quite simple.
You're
You're definitely
No,
not.
I am
simple. No, you gotta be joking.
No, I am quite simple. I'm quite dumb.
What?
I've got no general knowledge at all. I just really like this
coming
subject.
out now.
But this person, like when they start talking, I'm like, you're fascinating. I'm struggling to like keep up with you, to be honest. But it's an interesting thought.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you think about the
interesting.
mental health and stuff like that, you know.
Yes.
And the kind of like the inner battle that we have with mental health, and some people are struggling more than others, this big sort of like nervous system dysregulation going on.
Because I feel that I'm going through something like that at the moment. I feel like my nervous system is completely dysregulated.
Well, because you're trying to go into hyper healing drive.
100%.
And some of that is kind of, positive healing, and some of it is like the shadow work.
Massive shadow work.
And so you've got this,
and that does
also
feel like a demon inside going, wow.
You're grieving a life that you've been used to for a long time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it might be better now, you're grieving.
That's it.
The phase that you've been through and you've let go of, and you're starting a journey of a new one.
Yeah, that's it completely. And there is, I do feel like when you're describing it's all internal, I thought that really resonates.
You can feel it, and when you're unbalanced inside, you can feel it in your body because things you get these symptoms all over your body, really strange ones. I get it all the time because I'm someone who's battling on the inside. I'm a tortured artist. No, but I'm someone that battles with like a health condition, and so your immune system's like freaking out all the time, and you're getting like, oh, I've got a lump here, and I've got a really sore nose, and like I've now got nerve pain in my leg, and you're constantly just trying to balance the stuff that's going inside. It's really hard.
The light and the dark again.
Yeah, I've gone full circle.
Yeah, full circle back round to sort of where we started.
Light and dark.
Is there anything else that we can think of?
I think that we said that we might very briefly discuss a couple more things. One was Magick versus Magick with a K. Maybe you want to take that one.
Yeah, so, Magick without a K is seen as magician type magic.
Like a trick.
Isn't it? Like a trick, yeah. Like a card trick or, that coin one. Have you seen those? Anyway, so that's basically to differentiate the different types of magic. Magic with a K is witchcraft magic, right?
Ceremonial magic.
Ceremonial magic, rituals,
actual
spells,
practice,
actual practice.
Which kind of falls into the Lammas and Lunarsar thing, right? It's like if you're a witch and you're using magic with a C.
No.
Touch tea. Not that we literally are scrolling through social media going, they're not a real witch. We all make mistakes. Well, we're constantly learning, aren't we?
No, yeah, we're human beings.
Yeah, but I do find it strange when I see magic with a C.
Yeah, I find it strange now. Yeah, definitely seeing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was the other one?
And the other one was just about. I think we might have decided to do a different podcast on that, but it was about sort of like indigenous practices
and cultural appropriation.
Yeah, and kind of like co-opting things that don't really belong to our culture. So maybe we can leave some of that to another one.
Yeah, I reckon we should leave it for the next episode. So I think, ladies, we should probably finish there. Thank you so much for joining me again. I really enjoyed this one. I hope you enjoyed it at home.
Hopefully you stuck with us.
Yeah, you stuck with us.
Are you all with us?
It's a wild ride.
But yeah, if you have any comments or anything, just pop them below. And yeah, we'll see you soon for the next episode.